Yo, what is up, folks? Welcome back to another podcast here today. We got a lot to discuss, including a giant Naruto announcement that has been made by the higher ups of, people that take care of Naruto and write Naruto, things like that. So we're going to discuss that as well. But if you've been around here, you know how this goes. I'm going to let the people know we are live real quick, and we shall begin. We shall begin in quick succession. Give me a second here, folks, as I do that. Make sure to hit the soundboard isn't working once again. Give me a second, folks. Yeah, make sure to hit the like button, folks, if you're watching the recording or watching live. Let me let the people know we are live real quick, and we shall begin. All right, give me a second here, folks. But yeah, that announcement's quite large. The announcement that we have just been informed of when it comes to Naruto is quite large and quite exciting, I might say so myself. So, give me a second here. By the way, if you want your questions asked in depth, make sure to ask them ahead of time before the stream. So join my Discord or leave them in the comments of this video, however you please, because I actually answer those in depth, and I do, more in-depth analysis since I prepare for those, and then I answer the rest in live time, obviously. All right, folks, let's begin with the questions here. There are a lot of good questions asked. So we got some power scaling questions, we got some narrative analysis, and of course we have IRL questions as well. So let's begin here. When more people come in, I'll begin to discuss the announcement and things like that, who I want to be selected as the individual who will have a short manga written on them by Kishimoto himself, things like that. So once more people come in, I'll discuss that. But until then, ask your questions, folks. Donations are prioritized. Become a member. Think about that. What's going on, Batman? Thanks for coming in. All right, so let's discuss the first question here. Someone asked me, Might Guy versus all the Akatsuki in a gauntlet. How far would he get? Okay, so this is an interesting question. All right, so actually this matchup is quite easy to assess. 8 Gates Might Guy nearly killed Jubidar, who's exponentially times stronger than the entire Akatsuki put together. So to be frank, it is easy to rationally deduce that 8 Gates Might Guy would more than likely one-shot every member of the Akatsuki fairly easily. We can all agree with that. One by one, he'd knock them down like lambs to the slaughter, right? If he was in the 8 Gates. If he had the 8 Gates awakened, it'd be over for the Akatsuki. He might be able to one-shot all of them if they're all together in one, adequate enough radius. He might one-shot all of them simultaneously. That's how much stronger he is than anyone in the Akatsuki. So continuing on. Now, 7th Gates Guy would get quite far in this gauntlet, but wouldn't complete it. Now, let me explain further as to why he wouldn't beat everyone in the Akatsuki if he had to go through a gauntlet in his 7 Gates form. So, 7 Gates Guy successfully defeated a fatigued Samehada-less Kisame with his non-chakra-based taijutsu attacks. All right, continuing on. I would argue that 7 Gates Guy would actually defeat a full-powered Kisame with Samehada, and here's why. So, let me continue on as to why this is. I would argue that 7 Gates Guy, right, has the perfect arsenal to counteract Kisame's, right? Kisame's sword and his arsenal revolves around the aspects of chakra absorption. Samehada absorbs chakra. The more chakra that is fed to Kisame directly, the more he heals and continues to evolve and become stronger, right? But the problem is with Guy is that all his attacks are taijutsu based, and in fact his final attack wasn't comprised of chakra at all, but rather high pressurized air, right? When he used Hiradora against Kisame, Kisame couldn't absorb the chakra he thought was there with his super shark bomb, right? Because it wasn't chakra based. It was simply just high pressurized air. All right, so continuing on. That makes Might Guy one of the worst possible matchups for Kisame. Right, so if we break down how full power Kisame would go against Might Guy, here's how it would most likely go. Kisame wouldn't be able to use Guy's chakra to his advantage to grow stronger as the battle ensues, like he did against Killer Bee. Right, against Killer Bee, he was able to do that. He won't be able to against Guy. Guy doesn't use ninjutsu whatsoever. Right, so another more obscure fact about 7 Gates Guy, which I'm sure most of you guys haven't even realized or observed when reading or watching the fight, is that 7th Gate Guy, when facing Kisame, wasn't actually going all out, right? And that's evident by his statement, which was he could further expand the radius of his Hiradora to offset Kisame's super shark bomb, allowing us to rationally deduce he actually wasn't using his maximum AP. Right? He actually says, I need to expand the radius of my Hiradora. which allows us to rationally deduce, well, he was using some arbitrary level of his power, but not the maximum level of his power, right? Because he told, within his own mind, he told himself, I need to expand the radius of this Hiridora, implying that he wasn't even going all out against Kisame. So even though people say, well, that was a fatigued Kisame, Guy wasn't going all out anyway. That wasn't full power 7 gates Guy going at Kisame. He was just using an arbitrary level of his power and an arbitrary radius of the Hiridora, not the maximum radius that it can take up, right? So that's important to take into consideration as well. So that's another reason why Guy would most likely beat full powered Kisame, right? So hence, extrapolating these pieces of empirical evidence allows us to safely rationally deduce that there is a high probability that 7-gate Guy would more than likely defeat a full power Kisame. However, anything less than the 8 gates would be insufficient in dealing with any of the big 3 in the Akatsuki, right? Which are, as we all know, Pain, Itachi, and Obito. Without the 8 gates, he isn't defeating those 3. The 7 gates would not be adequate, right? Itachi, especially if we're talking about in their primes. Obito in his prime, Itachi in his prime, who's somewhere in between the range of KCM1 and KCM2, and Nagato, who overpowered a KCM1. 7 gates Guy is not on that level. And that can be further evident by the White Mask Obito interaction, right? KCM2 had to come into the battlefield for them to have a chance, and Guy and Kakashi were visibly shocked by Naruto's development. So that further implies that 7 gates Guy is inferior to KCM level Naruto, whether it's 1 or 2, I would add. So therefore, 7 gates Guy would get as far as Kisame and would have to open the 8 gates to complete the gauntlet. I think that's a very fair deducing statement there. So what's going on, Galaxy? What's going on, Alexa? Thanks for coming in. Been a huge fan of the last months. Keep up the good work. Appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that a lot. All right, folks. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. There actually wasn't many pre-live stream questions this time, so I'll probably be answering more of yours live, right? Because people didn't ask as many this time. So, but until you guys do that, I'm continuing on with these. So someone asked, what if Itachi became the 7-tails Jinchuriki? Well, this is an interesting question. So if we presuppose that 1, he would be able to successfully tame the 7-tails, and 2, if we presuppose that he's able to use the power optimally and that the sheer amount of chakra wouldn't be too much on his body, that would allow us to rationally deduce that he would be able to easily kill Obito, stop his Project Infinite Tsukuyomi, no question. He'd have a huge amp from the 7-tails chakra and the abilities that come with it. And he could probably deal with the rest of the Akatsuki by himself, to be quite honest. Think about it this way. Sick Itachi is already competing with Nagato and arguably even Obito, according to his statements, where he shows respect. So the rest of the Akatsuki would have no chance against 7-tailed Jinchuriki Itachi. And simply put, he would have his full health back. He would have a much larger chakra reserve, which means he could spam Tsukuyomi, Amaterasu, and use Susanoo and Yadomir and Totsuka Blade as much as he wants to, as much as he pleases. Right, so he would foderize the Akatsuki. All right, now that people are in here, let's discuss the announcement. All right, so the announcement was, for you guys that are not informed, I'm sure most of you guys are, maybe all of you, is that there is now a poll for us to participate in, where we select a character of our choosing, and the character with the most votes will have a short manga written by Kishimoto himself. Right, so I always feel like Kishimoto should have created a Naruto series called Shinobi Legends, basically showing us the off-screen fights like Kakashi and Hidan. That's an interesting concept. I would love to see an anthology series of each wartime periods focusing on different characters or what if series. Yeah. So this is what I would say. If the success of the spin-off or short manga that we're going to get, if it's adequate enough, who knows, maybe that will be something that will take place in the foreseeable future. And that would be extremely exciting. And for me, as a person that loves narrative and story and also loves power scaling, that would be very good. So as far as who I voted for, I personally voted for Minato. That's just my own bias, my own subjective lens led me to that decision. I like Minato a lot, and there's 2 reasons why. One, I want to see more of him and see his story and how he, was bred into this monster that we now know, right? And also his power scaling. Maybe we'll get new enlightenment on what he truly was capable of, truly, right? So, We need more Seishui, Fugaku, Minato, Tobirama, etc. Yeah. I think, looking at this objectively, that the people that will get the most votes, or the characters, I should say, that will get the most votes, will probably be Minato, Itachi, Sasuke, even though there's already novels on him. The casuals love Sasuke, so there's going to be a ton of Sasuke votes. Obito, and of course Naruto is going to get votes as well, which is counterproductive because Naruto, the entire manga is based on Naruto, so I don't know why he's even an option. I don't understand that. He's an option on the poll. I don't understand that. The fucking manga is about Naruto. What else do we need to know? So Sasuke, Naruto, Itachi, those guys have a ton of information on them. They have novels, they have the original manga, etc. Right, so I hope it's either Minato, maybe someone like Fugaku, maybe someone like, who else is out there? Someone like Rock Lee or Mike Guy's upbringing. Not Kakashi because he has novels and we have his backstory. Someone that we really respect but didn't get enough. That's who I hope gets selected. Now, if I'm only looking at this from my objective lens and I want to learn more about power scaling, then a short manga on Kaguya or some Otsutsuki would be extremely, extremely enlightening. Because we would get more answers as to how high she truly scales, right? Within the community of Naruto, Kaguya scaling is a heavily debated and a heavily argued topic, rightfully so. Right, the idea of the mistranslation of the data books, the idea of the dimension not being solar system size, the one that she was going to absorb with the expanded truth-seeking orb, all these things could be answered with a short manga. Obviously, she's a boring-ass character narratively, but if she wins, which she won't, we'd get more information. Anything's better than nothing. Yeah, definitely need to see Sakumo. Sakumo's another one that I hope is up there in the polls right now. Ireland, Flying Thunder God, seeing his training and everything he did in the war. I agree. I want to see all of that. I want to see what he can really do with Sage Mode so we could really scale the guy, and really admire him more. So, I agree completely with that. By the way, folks, for you guys that just came in, make sure to hit the like button. But let's continue on with the questions. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Make sure to hit that like button. Let's continue on. Alright, so the next question was, what if Orochimaru stayed in the Akatsuki and said sorry to Itachi? Well, that would be a very dumb decision. If he returned and brought himself to, even within the presence of the Akatsuki, to apologize, Pain or some other top-tier character would foderize him and kill him because they're not very forgiving, right? And they would simply just take him out because of his betrayal. It would be trivial for Orochimaru to try to apologize. And Orochimaru was smart enough to know that. He's ostracized from the group. He is now seen as an enemy, rightfully so. And it would be trivial and simply get him killed. So that would be very dumb for him to try and do. Who do you think is the most Batman-like character out of the characters? Itachi's up there, Minato. Right, you need the intellectual prowess and the physical prowess, so Minato's a good one. So is Itachi. But Minato seems to be a little more hands-on as far as physical altercation. So maybe Minato. Itachi's up there too, though, because of his intelligence. So, alright, folks, feel free to keep asking questions. Any and all questions. Donations also take priority as well. Alright, so the next question here was, who do you think had the worst childhood experience in Naruto? Alright, so this is an interesting question, and obviously the Shinobi is a war-torn area, right, with chaos ensuing all around. Right, so the Shinobi world, however, was the most war-torn and chaotic during the eternal war between the Senju and the Uchiha. There were no nations, right? There was no structure. It was simply chaos between two clans that are the most superior clans on Earth. So I would say someone like Hashirama or Madara probably had the worst childhood. All they knew was death and violence. They knew nothing else. They were trained from their youth to be killers, to be machines. Right, at least during the time of the 5 Great Nations, there was at least some structure. There was at least fucking school where kids could go and hang out with their friends. During this time, there was none of that shit. It was simply chaos and war and violence, death all around them. So that was probably the worst childhood of time. So Madara and Hashirama had the worst childhoods. Guys like that, during that time, it was hell, literally. So Sage Mode Jiraiya versus Old Man Hiruzen. That's a good question. I actually lean towards Old Man Hiruzen, right? Because when Orochimaru fought him during the Konoha Crush, He deduced that he needed reanimations to at least even the odds or beat Hiruzen, implying that he sees himself as still inferior to some extent, to some arbitrary extent, right? And I would scale Orochimaru over Jiraiya, actually, right? Especially the strongest version of Jiraiya. Excuse me, of Orochimaru over Jiraiya. So I would say Hiruzen would probably beat him if he's not mentally nerfed like he was against Orochimaru. If he's mentally amped and he has the will of fire, he beats him. All right, folks, continuing on. Someone asked, so if Madara and Hashirama are incarnates of Ashura and Indra, then how can they even be Edos in the first place? Their soul has literally been reincarnated into Naruto and Sasuke already. Also, there isn't another Ashura and Indra incarnate in Boruto because Naruto and Sasuke still exist, so this wouldn't make sense. What's going on, Luis? Thanks for coming in. So there are a couple rational explanations that we could use to explain this. Right? One, the semantical meaning of reincarnation in this case isn't one that consists of souls themselves, but maybe rather the wills of those who are reincarnations. Maybe Naruto and Sasuke simply continue the will of those that were their descendants, rather than souls. Right? That makes sense. It's not an outlandish rational deduction. That's one explanation. Another one would be that, simply put, when you're an Edo and you're in reincarnation, your soul is duplicated. Simply put. Your soul is duplicated, and that's how we have Naruto and Sasuke and Hashirama and Madara coexisting simultaneously at the same point in time in history. Right, so those are some rational explanations for it, and I don't think Kishimoto thought too much of that. But yeah, if you look at it enough, you can see where there's a disconnect if you think about reincarnation from a certain semantical relationship, right? From a certain semantical meaning, then sure, yeah, that'd be a problem. What was the Naruto announcement? The Naruto announcement was that there is going to be a poll, and the character that gets the most votes will have a short manga written about them by Kishimoto himself, the Kishimoto, which is extremely exciting. Extremely. All right, folks, keep asking your questions. So, another question here. This is more cross-verse. Where would Naruto scale in Dragon Ball? Okay, so simply put, highballing Baryon mode Naruto, who's the strongest version of Naruto we've ever seen, you could scale him somewhere between the top tier characters of the end of the Cell arc and the beginning of Buu arc. Because at best you could put Baryon mode Naruto in the range of solar system to galaxy level, considering he scales significantly above Ishiki, who's stronger than Kaguya, who with her expanding truth-seeking orb was able to capably swallow an entire dimension containing several celestial bodies, allowing us to deduce the size of that dimension. If I'm not mistaken, I believe there was even a star within the dimension, allowing us to put it over the size of a star level radius or diameter, or surface area, I should say. What were the choices? Basically any character you can think of. Even fucking Kiba's dog and fucking Ten, shit like that, so. From different villages, so. It was the same thing too, because with Madara, Tobirama, Hashirama, there was no cooldown periods, because there's no structure of nations. It was just nonstop war death all the way from... Exactly. That's why that was the worst time, and one of those guys probably had the worst childhood. So. So this is another question, directed to me specifically. What's a list of anime, manga you'd like to finish by the end of next year? Definitely Jujutsu Kaisen. And maybe not finish, but at least make a big dent in One Piece. That's a show or anime, manga I hope to make a big dent in to understand more. So, Jujutsu Kaisen for sure, and One Piece. Probably Chainsaw Man as well. Will this be animated? Yes. Oh, no, it's a manga. It's not animated, at least for a long time. Maybe in a couple years from now, a few years from now, if the manga has great success, I'm sure it will be animated. So, who would you want? I selected Minato as my vote. There's a couple other guys, Sakumo, Fugaku, a couple other guys. Alright, folks, I only have a couple questions left because, like I said earlier, there wasn't many pre-live stream questions, so keep asking your questions and I shall answer them. If you donate, that takes priority. If you're a member, that takes priority as well. Alright, so now I'm going to RRL questions already. And the first question was, now this is a very interesting question. What are your views on the concept of Jesus being a made-up fabrication by the Romans to pacify the populace and prevent a all-out rebellion? That's actually a very good theory and question. So, this theory is quite interesting. And religion is not only a tool that can be used to instill structure into anyone, but also hope. Now, hope negates, or at least heavily decreases, the possibility of rebellion and uprising, right? Hope is the key factor that every nation needs to propagate to the masses. Without hope, there is anxiety, there's nervousness amongst the populace. And what happens when that's the case? Resentment can be built, right? Panic can be built, and that's how you get riots and uprisings and rebellions. But continuing on. In fact, there are times where religion is utilized even malevolently to create a delusional sense of hope to keep a group of people pacified. Right? So I do believe that is something that takes place and has taken place in past human history. So it is certainly possible that the Romans utilized religion to pacify the masses on several occasions. Right? Let's say that some piece of legislation is a problem to the masses, and one of the Roman kings or bureaucrats simply say, this is God's will. God wanted this. God told me that this legislation is just. And that probably avoided great uprisings. It's definitely not outside the realm of possibility. Right, so continuing on. However, this is something that I read, and this is quite interesting. However, there is empirical evidence to suggest religious singularity can be detrimental to a state or empire. Religious singularity means one dominant religion. For you guys that don't know what that means. So it seems the system that guarantees the most peace is actually religious plurality, right? So continuing on. According to researchers, from what I read about, countries without a dominant religion are on average 17% more peaceful than countries with a dominant religious group. It's actually very interesting. Continuing on, these countries also have on average 25% less religious restrictions, and religious hostilities are 40% lower. That's very telling as well. From this, you can extrapolate the fact that freedom of speech and freedom of religion heightens the probability of a peaceful state, as there can be little resentment from any religious group when limitations and restrictions are non-existent. Right? So that's something to think about. So when humans feel contained and restricted, naturally the reaction is to adjust to uplift the containment and restriction. So think about it like someone in prison. They want to escape. They don't want to be contained, right? Now, in an intrinsic sense, this makes sense as well with religion. If you're in a state where there's religious prosecution, there's religious restriction, you're going to feel contained. You're going to feel trapped because you can't express your freedom of thoughts or your freedom of speech. So, hence, it seems the best ideology a state or empire can have is an open-minded one, right? Because it ensures happy citizens and conversely decreases the possibility of uprising or revolt. So, I do think Romans probably did that, and it probably still happens to this day. Cults are a great example of that, right? Malevolent intentions, construing and manipulating religion to the bidding of the individual expressing this cult to get what he or she wants. Happens all the time. It's probably not as common on a country level, but it certainly happens in smaller congregations. So, what if Nagato knew of Obito's truth? Nagato is not equipped to be Obito. It would be trivial if he did. Maybe he'd try to stop him, but he'd lose. How do you know if you had a successful first date? It would be the girl's body language, the girl's eagerness to contact you after the conclusion of the date, things like that. You have to study their behavior post-date. Are they hitting you up more? Are they ghosting you now? Are they lagging in you more? That will give you an indication of how the date went. You will never know from asking the girl, because the girl will lie. Girls are liars. They don't want confrontation. They don't want awkwardness. They avoid it at all costs, so they'll cap. So simply look at their actions, and you'll know. All right, folks, feel free to keep asking questions. Any and all questions. There's a scan that says pain is invincible. Clearly that's a hyperbole, because if he was invincible, Sageball Naruto would have failed to defeat him, and the Nine Tails would have failed to defeat him. So clearly you can prove the hyperbolic nature of that statement quite easily. If he was invincible, he'd never lose. If he was invincible, Itachi wouldn't have sealed him as an Edo. If he was invincible, he would have destroyed Konoha and killed Naruto and taken the Nine Tails. If he was invincible, he could beat Obito or Kaguya. So clearly it's hyperbolic. It's quite easy to debunk that. For Pain Cycle of Hatred speech, Naruto didn't have an answer. And due to being fiction, he had peace to a certain extent in our world, and it's completely different. Do you think peace can be achieved? If you're asking about our world, it's completely different, yes. Now, those ideologies that are expressed in Naruto are ideologies used in the real world. Obviously, they're not as dramatized, right? Because we're in the real world and we're not shinobi. So, continuing on. Peace in our imperfect, tangible reality, perfect peace is impossible. Any sort of perfection is impossible, right? There is such thing as excellence, and excellence is extremely, extremely difficult to achieve, and no matter what aspect we're talking about, especially on a grand scale like worldwide peace, that will be extremely difficult. There would have to be people willing to compromise, and due to the vast number of countries, citizens in each country, and vast different numbers of ideologies, it's going to be very difficult to achieve world peace where there's one ideology that fits the bill on a global scale. There's too many conflicting interests. There's too much corruption. There's just too many variables, confounding variables, that will make worldwide peace, at least on a global scale, very difficult. Very, very difficult. There is no pain. There is no Madara that just takes over. Right? In the real world, it's much more complicated. Invincible to the Akatsuki, not in general. If he was invincible to the Akatsuki, then he wouldn't have submitted to Madara. Him submitting to Madara, or he thought it was Madara, that implies inferiority. Again, there's hyperbolic statements everywhere. Everywhere. So, no. He's not invincible to the Akatsuki. If he was invincible to the Akatsuki, Itachi wouldn't have been able to seal him because he's invincible. He would have beaten Itachi and taken Naruto and Killer Bee's souls. Not invincible. I'm just saying Pain Kakazu. Now that's correct. Pain is certainly above Kakazu. Have you watched Seth's new video on Itachi versus Pain? I have not. I saw that he dropped it. I have to react to that. I don't like reacting to videos after I watch them before, right? So I like reacting to them live with you guys. So I don't ever watch them beforehand. But I'm extremely interested to see what they say on that. So, favorite Akatsuki member and why? Itachi. And why? Because he has the most drip. He has the best ideology, etc. What if Ryan beats Davis? If Ryan beats Davis, then he will be much more respected in the boxing community amongst hardcores and casuals alike. I highly doubt he beats Davis. Ryan is a pretty boy, and he uses social media more than he uses his hands to train in the gym, honestly. I think Davis is going to smoke him. And I like Ryan. It says they worship him for his power. It also says, canonical literature also says that Tamari has winds that can blow away the world or universe depending on the translation. So we can't take everything hyper literally. It's not that simple. Neji was implied to be the strongest in the leaf in one of the data books, if you take it hyper literally. Clearly, that's not what's being intended. Jiraiya versus Itachi first series. Max power and ready to go. Itachi. That video is like 59 minutes long. Shit, I need to see that for sure. I have to see that. I'm excited for that one. I want to see their takes on it. It's one of the most contentious and highly debated topics in all of Naruto, Itachi versus Pain. It's up there with fucking, Neji versus Sasuke in Chunin exams, Rock Lee versus Sasuke Chunin exams. It's up there with those. So, what if Davis beats Ryan? What would happen to Ryan after? Ryan would just be seen the same way. A pretty boy and talented boxer, but not world class. That's the way he's looked at by the majority of fans right now. So, no one would be surprised if he gets his ass whooped. So, he has less on the line than Davis does. Davis has to win this fight if he wants to stay top of the food chain. So, can't be hyperbolic if Pain is a chosen leader. Well, that's what it seems to the rest of the Akatsuki, but in reality, it's Obito, which implies superiority. And Itachi was undercover the whole time, so he was just playing an act the whole time, going along with it. So it doesn't prove anything. Sound 4 versus Sasuke during the retrieval arc. I'm assuming you mean Sasuke, the one that fought in amped Naruto at the final valley at the end of part 1. They had trouble with mid-tier Jonins after returning from a mission. You could scale Naruto and Sasuke to maybe Jonin level. It's hard to scale them. Naruto had some success against Kimimaro, at least held him off. He's not relative to Kimimaro in any fashion. Maybe you can make a rational deduction and say, well, this Naruto, the one that was trying to bring back Sasuke, was more mentally amped, more powerful as a result of that, and maybe scales above the Sound 4. And transitively, Sasuke would scale above that too because he beat Naruto. So I would say I would lean towards the 4. I'd still lean towards the 4, yeah. Because all 4 were able to take out 2 mid-tier Jonins, right? And I don't think you have enough to extrapolate and deduce that Sasuke is at that level, even at the end of part 1. What if it is unanimous decision? Anonymous decision? It would depend on how one-sided or how close it was between Davis and Ryan. It really depends. Are you saying Itachi Pain? Yes, I am. It's close though. There's no low diff for either side. All right, folks, keep asking questions. Now, I have one more question that was pre-live stream. So ask your questions as I answer this last one. Unless you're a member or donate, I'll stop this one and answer yours. So someone asked me, thoughts on current big tech government collusion. Now, this has been trending amongst Western civilization for a few weeks, ever since Musk's purchase of Twitter. All right, so this is what I say. Now, the collusion between big tech and government is certainly an issue, with censorship clearly being at the top of the list. There's an obvious bias, blatant bias, as to what should be censored and what shouldn't be, because both big tech and government go along and coincide with each other, right, when it comes to this censorship. So continuing on, Elon Musk essentially draining the Twitter HQ swamp illuminates the glaring problem of this. Right, the Twitter files that he has exposed also shine light on this further, and the bias is further exposed. And it's truly comical, to be quite honest, how fucking biased the top heads of these platforms are. It's fucking hilarious. Right, continuing on. So the lack of attention on real issues, which are now popping up on Twitter, which Musk is actually paying attention to, and what the former heads of Twitter failed to do, is comical, right? And the oversaturation of attention on difference in opinion is tyrannical, which we're seeing more and more with more exposing of these policies, these bullshit policies that social media utilize to censor people. It's quite absurd. All right, so another piece of empirical evidence that suggests that this is going to further and further become more and more of a problem is the fact that elections are now more of a popularity contest. It's not even about the best candidate with the best policies. It's about popularity. It's fucking absurd. So, simply put, the social media melting pot is being destroyed from the inside out by the higher-ups on social media. So, that's what I think about big tech and government collusion. It's truly a fucking problem. CM2 Sasuke slam Sound Force since base Sasuke was able to contest with them no amps. Contest is a strong word. Maybe you should read the manga again. Who do you think is strongest out of the 4? I think it was stated that Sakon and Yukon were the strongest. I think that's stated. And it makes sense because there's essentially 2 of them. Maybe that's why. I believe it's stated. I misquoted myself a long time ago when I said Kidomaru. I think he's the weakest, actually, if I'm not mistaken. I think Sakon and Yukon were stated as the strongest. Let me double check that so I don't fuck up my facts. Who is the strongest of the Sound 4? Sakon and Yukon. Yep. Okay, just double checking. Daredevil versus Batman. Batman. With prep time, Batman beats almost anyone unless you bring up an omnipotent being or something like that, or Joker. Favorite version of Spider-Man? I like the mainstream guy, man. Peter Parker, the one that, had Ben Parker. Ben Parker death, he went through that, and he became a superhero. Probably just the mainstream Spider-Man. What if Cooler was canon? It's a tough question. Obviously, he'd have to somehow compete with the rest of the Z fighters, somehow. And it really depended on the writer, to be honest. What if Goku stayed dead? Dragon Ball would have failed as a manga because people love Goku, and that's why Kishimoto still has him around. The fat dude stated to be the weakest, Jirobo, and Flute Girl Sakon were stated to be stronger by Kabuto and Orochimaru, but I don't know. Yeah, I believe it's stated. Let me see here. It's Kabuto who claims that Sakon is the strongest of the Sound Four, supposedly. Okay. I see. If it's stated by Kabuto, who's blatantly aware of them, then Sakon on Yukon must be the strongest. Maybe if let's see if I see a panel that says this. Let's see. I'm not gonna spend time looking at all of these, but Sakon's the most troublesome. That's what Orochimaru said himself. He's not satisfied until he kills his foe. He's the strongest of the Sound Four. He likes to show off. Okay, so it is Sakon. Okay. Orochimaru stated as well. Alright, folks. That's all my pre-live stream questions. Feel free to ask any questions at all. Make sure you hit the like button as well. And of course, give your thoughts on the new announcement. Who do you want to be selected? What kind of story would you like? As well. Alright. Let's see if anything was asked here. Any and all questions, folks. Any and all. IRL, anime, controversy, conspiracy, whatever. We're a variety melting pot. So we are in this podcast. Melting pot filled with variation. Who's going to win the World Cup? From what I've seen, seems like France is pretty dominant. I'm not really into soccer, but I think France. Best, bro. Appreciate it, brother. Favorite store to shop for clothes? I'm a minimalist when it comes to that, so Target. Have you seen the latest Super manga Goten and Trunks having a school arc? Hopefully better than the one they did in Z. Interesting. Interesting. And I hope this next chapter that comes out in a couple days is very telling. I hope that the next chapter of Dragon Ball Super is extremely telling and that we learn more about the depths of Goku and Vegeta's ability, Black Frieza's ability. We get some fucking light shined on Frieza versus Gohan right now because that's a very contentious topic as well. I'm trying to dress better. Got any tips? You gotta find your style. You know, it's arbitrary and different from person to person. I would say take mental notes when you're out and about in a non-work environment and the attention you get with the clothes you're wearing from women. You know, take mental notes and adjust. How strong would Goku be with the Sharingan? I mean, he'd even be more broken than he already is. He'd probably be even stronger in Ultra Instinct since that's all about defending. So. Alright, folks, any and all questions are welcomed. I shall stay for quite some time. Let me see if there's any questions I've been asked in the Discord. Someone asked, War Kakashi versus Pain? It's a tough one to assess. It's a tough one indeed. War Kakashi versus Pain. War Kakashi, how high can you scale him? It's hard to deduce that. I don't think he scales above Prime Nagato. I don't. Obviously, DMS Kakashi fallerizes him, but I don't think War Kakashi scales to Pain. Best ways to release anger: the gym, combat sports, or a trusted friend that you could vent off. Those are the best ways. Break practices to improve self-esteem. The single best way is improving yourself and then taking risks and seeing the results of your labor. That will inevitably rise your confidence. It will rise your confidence, and it will rise everything in your life, period. So taking risks, improving your knowledge, your skill set, whatever you're doing, stuff like that. The worst way to improve it, which would be counterproductive, would be to play things safe. You never take a risk. You always say, what if? that's going to lower your self-esteem because you'll never know what you're capable of. So, all right, folks, any and all questions are welcomed here. Hopefully in the next couple of streams I have a co-host. I'm currently going through that process of trying to find someone that would be a fine fit for the podcast, and then we could do debates live for you guys, whatever. You know, it's going to be much more interactive and maybe much more shit I could do with another person. So, let's see. I know women can't cure loneliness, so what would improve it? Loneliness? Here's the thing. The path to success, right, depending on how difficult it is, only has increasing loneliness. There's no way to avoid that. You can't avoid life being hard. You can only make yourself tougher to be prepared more so for that tough life, right? So, simply put, you got to become tougher. The loneliness will never dissipate or cease to exist as long as you try to achieve something great. The harder the goal is, the more loneliness will be present, more than likely, statistically. So loneliness is inevitable, unfortunately. You can only become tougher. You can't make the journey easier. It will appear easier because you're tougher, but the journey isn't easier at all. You're just tougher. That's the difference. Thoughts on the Dragon Ball superhero movie? I thought it was pretty good. Definitely not as good as the Broly movie, though. I wish there was much more combat, right, between Cell Max and Gohan, not just a one shot, and the rest of the Z fighters trying to trip fucking Cell Max over and take him out. I wish there was more thrill, more suspense, more on the line. The movie was good, but it wasn't as good as Broly to me. The fight Broly had with with Goku, Vegeta, and later on Gogeta was amazing. It was amazing. Superhero didn't reach that level of entertainment. It was alright. So, the Gohan Beast is cool, Alright, folks. Any questions you may have, continue on. But yeah, like I was saying, hopefully I have a co-host in the next week or two. At max 3. And the first stream I have with a co-host, I'm planning on doing random debates where you guys donate and we'll debate whatever you want. We each pick a random side. We'll go at it for 30 seconds to a minute, and you guys decide who wins. I got that idea from Swag and Sticks, by the way, so shout out to them. So that's coming in the foreseeable future. That should be a good stream as well. But it'll basically be live debate gauntlets once I have a co-host. Haku versus Gar that fought Lee Sasuke, and Bone Man 2, Edo Haku in the live too, just curious. Haku. Now, it's tough to scale Haku. She's one of those just interesting cases. With her mirrors, she failed to defeat a Kyuubi Naruto, right? I would say Gaara most likely. The one that fought Lee and Sasuke. Okay. Haku might have a chance against that one. Up until the point that he starts to utilize, the Kyuubi chakra more and more, then it'll become more and more difficult for her. I think if it's just that version in particular, there's a good chance Haku would win. However, once, the Jinchuriki side of him comes out and then the One Tail emerges, she's fucked. So, Edo Haku is interesting, right? Because there's weird feats that take place, like Kidomaru even being able to compete with KCM1 Naruto, which I've debunked before, actually, because you could just argue he disappeared because we didn't even see the fight in the manga. We just see the fight before it starts and after. So you could make an argument that KCM1 just disappeared, if anything. So that would debunk Kidomaru being KCM level, because I don't think he is. What if trucks didn't exist? Trucks are very useful. They help you transport large and heavy pieces of mass across large distances. So it would suck. Hoodies or zip-on sweater? Again, it depends on how it suits your drip. It depends from person to person. Me personally, I'd lean towards hoodies a little more. If trunks didn't exist, GG for DBZ. Facts. People think Haku beats anyone because the ice mirrors move her at the speed of light, but Sai could react Kakashi and still goes through. Even Lee could fight her. If anything, if she does scale, then those guys just scale above the speed of light. Simple as that. The arbitrary level of speed is irrelevant because we see people outspeed her. So it doesn't matter what the speed is. They'll just simply scale above that such shit speed, whatever it may be. what if Trunks didn't exist? Well, specifically in the Black Arc, he's the one that put the nail in the coffin, I believe. A lot of things would go wrong. The warning he gave about the androids, all kinds of chaos would ensue. All right, folks, continue on with the questions. I'll say that, and then they like prove they can move at that speed. Yeah, them reacting proves it. Do you think Seidou Naruto Minato can beat White Mask Obito with tailed beasts? With tailed beasts? Alright, so you're asking if Sagemon Minato can beat White Mask Obito, the same Obito that had the tailed beasts. Okay. No, he doesn't. KCM2 Naruto is definitely superior to base Minato, and base Minato in the worst situations was never displayed using Sage Mode, which allows us to rationally deduce that he's not very good at it and that it would be detrimental in the end. Despite him using it instantaneously in the war arc, it doesn't prove that he utilizes it in battle, because in the biggest battles of his life that we see, empirically, he doesn't use it. So, no, he wouldn't beat White Mask Obito. That's why we need a Minato manga, because that will clear up all this shit. We'll know for sure how good he is at Sage Mode, or at least I hope. So, at least I hope so. Alright, folks, any and all questions? Any and all questions? Yo, what's up? Got a beer card. What's going on, Levi? Thanks for coming in, brother. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Streaming once again. Do you think Goku would catch up to Black Frieza? Me personally would like to see MUI Super Saiyan Blue. Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's once a villain is significantly superior, then Goku has to play catch up and catches up to them eventually. It's probably gonna happen if we assume the trajectory is the same for Goku, like it's always been, where he catches up as time goes on. So yeah, eventually he will. I think it's gonna take quite some time though. They're probably gonna have to resort to fusion, or they're gonna have to resort to Gohan Beast. They're gonna have to default to that for now. Gohan Beast or fusion. Hashram versus Obito with White Mask and Ghetto Statue Tailed Beast. I think it's interesting, but I'm putting money on Hash Browns. Yeah, so White Mask Obito showed blatant fear and nervousness when he saw Edo Madara's body, which Kabuto presented to him to kind of intimidate him and let him know, like, we're gonna have to work together. You're not my superior. We're on an equal playing field now, right? Because when he saw the Akatsuki, he was like, whatever. When he saw Madara, he started sweating and shitting bricks. So Hashirama most likely beats White Mask Obito, even with the tailed beast. So just slay them like he did in the past. Last album you listened to? I think it was Drake's album, the new one. I believe that was the last one. Great album, by the way, as always. Obito Kame could react to Jubi Madara, so it's no joke. Yeah, but Hashirama admits inferiority to Jubidara. I think he admits inferiority to Jubito, excuse me. I think he admits inferiority to Jubito. But I don't think he's inferior to White Mask Obito. I don't. Applying that level of scaling scares him. Yep, it does. What do you do when you are sad? You snap out of it like Tate. Practicing stoicism is quite beneficial, because what happens is your mind sort of califies over time, right? At first it's hard because you're used to emotions and things like that. Not that emotions are always bad, because they're not, but still practicing stoicism definitely helps build that mental fortitude. So don't listen to girls when they say, I like a nice guy, because nice guys finish last. That's facts. So when you're sad, do not tell your girl. Do not tell a girl you're messing with. Girls are not prepared for that. It's just the truth. Tell your dad. Tell a trusted friend, someone that you know has your back and you can trust. Do not tell a female that you're fucking with that you're sad. They will never look at you the same. I promise you. Vasto Lord versus Ninetales. From what I know of Vasto Lord, it's hard to scale Bleach, right? Because I finished the Rancor arc. It was great. I was a little disappointed in the ending, right? Isaac gets fucking folded by Ichigo at the end, and it's not really a fight because he fucking beats his ass down and humiliates him. But at least in the anime that I saw. Now, Vasto Lord versus the Ninetales. It's hard for me to scale them very high. So Ichigo versus Aizen, right, at the end of the Rancor arc, they were shown destroying mountains, and probably several mountains. Maybe you could say island level. It's hard to tell. It's hard for me to put them above anywhere that's above island level. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's more canonical literature to insinuate more power. But I would say the Ninetales probably. Again, I'm not extremely well versed in Bleach. I'm more well versed now than I was before. But from what I've seen from Bleach, maybe you can make some arguments that the interdimensional feats imply above 4D, which I think is disingenuous. But yeah, Aizen is fucking broken though, so that's the truth. But I think the Ninetales would beat a Vasto Lord. For now, my opinion might change the more I learn. Sage Mode Kabuto versus War Arc Naruto. I think Naruto wins, but Kabuto has weird OP hacks. Here's the thing about the War Arc. Sasuke and Naruto specifically, they grow stronger as the war ensues. As the war ensues, they grow stronger. So obviously, end of War Arc Naruto completely obliterates Kabuto, and beginning of War Arc KCM1 Naruto most likely fails. He most likely fails to defeat Kabuto. So it depends on what exact stage mode, what exact War Arc Naruto we're discussing. Where do you think Boruto currently scales if he was in Naruto? He would body the entire Shinobi Alliance. He'd body Naruto until possibly 6 pass. He'd body everyone. Everyone. He's way above everybody. He has a karma. He has a Sutsuki level potential, so everyone would get fucked up. Probably even Kaguya, to be honest. Maybe not Kaguya because he hasn't mastered the karma yet, but he'd be way up there. So. Alright, folks. Any and all questions are welcomed. Let's see here. But yes, I'm almost done, and I've almost completed and concluded Bleach. I'm very near the end, at least of the anime. It was pretty good. It's pretty good. There are actually people that really believe Boruto scaling does not exist, and they lose to Naruto characters. Like, there's a lot of evidence to prove otherwise, but what's your thoughts? It certainly exists, and unfortunately, there's a massive and gargantuan power cliffing between Naruto and Boruto. We go from fucking, Naruto dealing with the Demon Brothers to Boruto dealing with fucking Momoshiki Otsutsuki and killing him with Naruto's help. Like, it's fucking absurd. And so clearly the scaling is preposterously different, and it's undisingenuous to assume that it's different, because Kishimoto is, at this point in time, very involved in the Boruto writing, and the same characters for Naruto are still in Boruto. So how the fuck are you going to say it doesn't exist? It's quite absurd. And I think it's people just illuminating their own bias when they do that. They're exposing their own bias to the fact that they hate Boruto. Boruto's not better than Naruto. That's facts, but you can't just toss aside the fact that there's a huge power cliff from Naruto to Boruto. It's absurdly large. So unfortunately, fucking Gaara was able to contain Kinshiki. So Gaara fucks up Hashirama. Simple as that. As crazy as that sounds, it's the truth. Like saying Dragon Ball Z the same as Super. Yeah, exactly. So I agree with KCM1, but I don't know about KCM2. Early KCM2, when he first emerged, the one that was facing White Mask Obito, would give Kabuto a tough time. KCM2 with Sage Mode, he bodies Kabuto. Bodies. His speed, his AP, his durability would be vastly too much. It would be vastly superior to Kabuto. That would body him. So. By the way, folks, make sure to hit the like button if you have not already. The more likes, the higher we are on the algorithm, and the more eyeballs see this, and as a result, we get more fruitful conversations during the lives themselves because more people come in. So, Kurama versus Minato. Well, Minato could just, the tough part would be containing Kurama, but if Minato could successfully teleport to him and has adequate enough time, he could seal him. Minato would have a shot for sure. He could evade all possible attacks with Flying Raijin. I would lean towards Minato. What if Minato had Sharingan and Itachi had Sage Mode? Minato probably would have bodied Yellow Mask Obito even worse because he has Sharingan, which aids his reaction times even further. Itachi with Sage Mode, things would go vastly different. He wouldn't have his famous Genjutsu. You wouldn't have the famous Genjutsu. You wouldn't have Amaterasu. His whole arsenal and everything would be different. Do you think the Shinobi Alliance could beat KCM2 Naruto or KCM Sage Mode Naruto? I think Naruto slams. Just the fact that he was able to aid the entire alliance single-handedly with his chakra and still fuck people up would imply that he's vastly superior to the Shinobi Alliance. He'd probably body them all, especially with KCM2 Sage Mode. One 9-tail Bijou Bomb, they're going to hell. So they're all gonna get blown to bits. So man, backpack to the war, exactly. Single-handedly. Without him, they would have lost to Madara and Obito. Even with Sasuke there, they still would have lost. Pulling Minato feet. Yep. Alright, folks, any and all questions. Any and all questions are welcomed. Conspiracies, controversy, politics, anime, whatever. Why do people think Obito got weaker when his mask came off? You could argue, if you're speaking about when he faces Kakashi, you could simply just say it's a mental nerf. From the second that he hears Naruto speak and he sees Naruto and he sees the parallels between Naruto and his former self, there was a gradual mental nerfing taking place. That is why Jubito had times where he was vulnerable to someone like Tobirama who scales massively below him. It's because of the mental nerfs, not because he's weaker, right? He had a fluctuating power level the entire time, which is why he got weaker. So, morality, your thoughts? Morality is definitely an abstract concept, and throughout human history it seems that the majority of at least Western civilization has come to a conclusion and agreement on what morality should be. Right? A good template to go based off of is the Judeo-Christian Bible. Right? We have the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie. Those are pretty good commandments to go off of to ensure the most net good. Right? The idea of net bad and net good was, I forgot who the philosopher was. There was a philosopher that kind of gave this idea of net good and net bad, right? So what choices ensure more net good than net bad? The idea of the greater good. And it seems Western civilization presupposes their idea of morality on that kind of notion, right? The idea of not stealing, there's the idea of not killing. Why shouldn't you kill? Because there's more net bad than net good, right? You're taking someone else's life. You're committing a malevolent act. Why should you not steal? You're stealing someone else's property away that they earned and you didn't. There's more net bad than net good. So morality is subjective, but it is so agreed upon that people think morality is only one thing and one thing only. Right? So simply put, morality is something that people should think about, and when it comes to more nuanced topics, which I'm not going to get into because they're sensitive, like abortion and things like that, that's where morality becomes extremely gray, right? Because both sides of the spectrum are reasonable to a person living in Western civilization. Abortion, the death penalty, things like that. That's when morality becomes more gray. When it comes to the big 10, right? Morality is black and white to the vast majority of people on Earth. Don't kill me. Don't steal from me. Don't lie to me. Simple as that. So morality is certainly a very interesting, intangible aspect that humanity has thought about for centuries to possibly millennia. So I think that net good is a good theory to go based off of. The idea of net good versus net bad, right? The idea of fairness and justice, those are all things that people that are competent should take into consideration. Did you vote for anyone in the Naruto poll? I voted for Minato. Next members only vid. Now that I'm much more free, it follows my time, there will definitely be one this week, no doubt about it. And it'll probably be either another debate reaction or I'm thinking of doing something else possibly. So expect a debate reaction or something Naruto related for sure. Do you think that the court system is the best way to apply justice, or not too much corruption, no equity, etc.? So there will always be inevitable flaws in any system. Now our justice system certainly has flaws, such as punishing someone more than someone else for the same crime, right? The idea of pedophilia, right? Women get like 6 months and a slap on the wrist, and guys get 5 to 20 years for the same crime is, to me, unjust and unfair. People would use the biological argument and say, well, men are more dangerous than women. That doesn't take away from the malevolent act that they acted upon, right? The malevolent act that they executed is still the same, despite the physical danger that they present. A fucking female teacher engaging in pedophilia is just as malevolent as a male teacher, despite the stigma, despite the presuppositions made, right? Despite the prejudice that we all have instilled in us, and the stereotypes. It's still the same act and should be punished the same way. Right. Furthermore, maybe drugs, right? There's certain drugs that you're punished more for than others. There's probably a better argument for why that is, due to the market of each drug, due to the effects, and due to the harm that each drug has done individually. I guess that's a good metric to determine punishment, sure. But I disagree that someone using should go to prison. They need help, I would say. Now, if they're selling drugs and destroying other people's lives, I think that's a crime. If they're just destroying their own life, I don't think jail time is fair. I think they need help. So, love your debate reactions, especially the long ones. Yeah, for sure. I gotta do more of those. And there's plenty of obscure debates out there that have not been reacted to. Favorite tracks on her Lost album with 21 and Drake. I actually have it right here, so let me look at it. The name of the song here. I believe it was Hours in Silence was my favorite. That's the one I've been playing the most. Where do you think the world will be in 2099? I think that the world will be damn near virtual and effortless for humans to operate in, unless the world hasn't ended before then. I would say that we will be able to transport from point A to point B in a fraction of the time we are now. I think the world will be a just vastly more convenient place than it is now. Compared to 100 years ago, we had fucking horses, right, that we had to use for transportation. Mail would take 2 months to reach 100 miles because there was no cars. Right, you had to go by horseback to send a fucking letter to your mom across the country. That would take months. Now, a couple of days. I think that's going to even further decrease to maybe seconds. Right? Maybe we have fucking cars that go thousands of miles an hour that break the sound barrier, that you can go across the world in a couple of hours. I think that's going to be reality in the next few decades. I think AI is going to have a much more important role in society. The key is building trust amongst the populace, right? Because no one trusts AI right now. Elon Musk talking about Neuralink and the idea of embedding your own physiology with machine is a dangerous concept to the vast majority of people in Western civilization. Why? Because they're not used to that. I'm sure it was the same thing with the internet back in the early 90s. People were like, what the fuck is the internet? Is the world going to end? I believe there was this kind of notion in, I guess you could say, panic that was in the early 90s because of the internet, because of virtuality and digitalization taking a toll and kind of beginning to make its way in society. So I would say that the world's going to be vastly different. Vastly. So your best rapper out of all and your top 5. So rap alone, Eminem's the best rapper I've ever heard lyrically. Best rapper all around as far as music and things of that nature. Rapper, straight up rapper. Maybe Tupac. I mean, Biggie's right there too. Those guys you can interchange them because they're both that good. Top 5 for me personally. That is my own personal opinion. Drake, J. Cole, Biggie. Who else would be up there? Let's see. I'm trying to think of the other ones I listen to. Let's see here. I had one on top of my mind. I forgot. From now, Drake, Biggie, J. Cole. I don't listen to Eminem anymore. I used to listen to him as a kid, but he wouldn't be in my top 5 right now. Tupac, I'd listen to him quite a bit, so he'd be up there too. And maybe one of the Wu-Tang Clan members out there somewhere. Lil Wayne, lyrically, in my opinion, is the best. He's very good too. Very good. What if the Sonic killed Nagato, Konan, and Yahiko as kids in the Third War? Well, the Akatsuki would have never been a thing, and Obito would have to come up with another plan to create this group of individuals that could take and abduct Jinchurikis. So that would vastly change everything. You know, one of the biggest powerhouses would have never existed. Pain would have never existed. Simply put, Obito probably would have tried to recruit someone else to follow his ideology or follow an ideology that he tries to promote to somebody. And it would just be him, Itachi, and things would be vastly different. If you had a way to live longer or be immortal, would you, and why? I don't know if I would live longer or be immortal, because I would simply see death forever. I would see the people I care about the most die every 60 to 100 years. And I think that would take a toll on anybody. So I would say no, I wouldn't, because the built up death and suffering that would take place over a period of centuries would be terrible. The world's a cruel place, so I wouldn't want to be here for many, many centuries. I do want to live a long time, but certainly not centuries to millennia. Hell no. Submarine Man is probably the best rapper. Never heard of him. Do you agree Kisame bodies Kakuzu? Yes, absolutely. Kakuzu gets fucking folded. Kakuzu could barely handle base Sharingan Kakashi, let alone Kisame, who bodied a perfect Jinchuriki. Hell no, you know? Did you hear about Ash and Pikachu? I heard something about them. I'm not exactly sure what happened. I just kind of scrolled by Pokemon News or whatever. Make sure to hit the like button, by the way, folks, if you have not already. Any donations are appreciated. And think about becoming a member if you haven't already. There's going to be a lot of exclusive content coming soon to members only as well. Kisame was mad loyal. Kisame died very nobly. He died a very noble and loyal man. That's something I gotta give to him. So that was an hour-long vid. Yeah, I'm definitely reacting to that, for sure. I'm very interested to see what they say on that video. By the way, for you guys that are, I guess, active in the community, I finally looked up what 6 versus Hot Boy Spicy was, and it was very comical. You know, Hot Boy Spicy seems to be a very self-righteous individual, and he just wanted to project his, I would say, insecurities by posting what he did about 6. The very condescending nature of his post was quite interesting. You know, so it was very interesting to see that beef, and 6 called him out, and the guy just shaked in his boots. So I'm with 6 on that one. I would side with 6. There was no reason to post that bullshit. Who do you think Obito would give the Rinnegan to if he could not? To Nagato. I feel like the only picks would either be Kirin, Karin, Naruto, or maybe Kushina. I don't know. Yeah, it'll have to be an individual that has massive amounts of chakra. So an Uzumaki would obviously be a great pick. Yeah. So any Uzumaki would be a great choice. That he trusts, of course. Kisame and Itachi. Best Akatsuki duo by far. Yeah, Kisame and Itachi. Yeah, I agree. Alright, folks, any and all questions are welcomed. But yeah, Hot Boy Spice is an interesting character. I'll say that. He's interesting. Did Madara give Nagato the Rinnegan? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was the case. Do you like almond milk? Yeah, I'll drink it. Once in a while. Fish, I ate a lot of fish, yeah. A lot of lean meats. Madara did, yeah, that's right. So they were never his eyes to begin with. They were Madara's. Look, he'd been thinking lately that Data would be Kakuzu lost in Naruto. That was weaker than... Exactly. That is correct. Because Sasuke nearly was defeated by Datara. And Sasuke is certainly stronger than Kakashi and Rasen Shuriken Naruto. Right? Kakashi explicitly indicates relativity between him and Naruto post Kakuzu. He says, you surpassed me, right? So we can definitely say at the bare minimum that they're relative. At bare minimum, we can rationally deduce that they're relative. Sasuke is obviously vastly superior still, right? Naruto, after defeating Kakuzu in the way he did, was saying, I'm not strong enough to beat Sasuke. I'm not. This isn't enough, right? So clearly Sasuke is stronger than him. Sasuke had a tough time with Data and nearly died alongside him. So Deidara would probably be Kakazu. Emotional intelligence or beauty in a woman. To get their foot in the door, obviously beauty is going to be the first thing that you notice. It's inevitable. It's in our nature to admire beauty. But after that is when the secondary traits should become important to you if you're trying to cuff a woman. If you're just trying to fuck, who cares? Their beauty is all you need for recreational use. But if you're talking about long term, where you actually care about the chick, then obviously their personality traits would be of great importance to you. Are they disrespectful? Are they gold diggers? Are they hoes? Do they entertain other men? Things like that. So at first beauty, then all the secondary traits as you get to know them more. Simply put. Kakashi that fought Kakazu versus full power Deidara. Kakashi that fought Kakazu versus full power Deidara. I honestly think Deidara might take him out. But if anything, Kakashi does have win cons. I think it'd be extremely difficult. But he does have win cons, right? The Kamui, of course. If he could snipe Deidara in time and just BFR him, that's definitely a possibility. I don't think it would be easy, but I do think it's a possibility. So I would lean towards Deidara, but it's very possible that MS Kakashi could get the victory because of his hacks. Could C4 one-shot Kakazu? Yeah. It'd probably destroy all his hearts simultaneously. Kakazu doesn't beat Sasori either. Yeah, he doesn't. Deidara admits inferiority to Sasori, so Sasori is certainly stronger than Kakazu. Alright, folks, any and all questions are welcomed. Any and all questions. Danzo versus Kakazu and Hidan. Danzo versus both. It's hard to scale Danzo because 5 Kage-sama Sasuke whipped his ass and killed him like 10 times because of his eyes in the Izanagi or Izanami, whatever it's called. I always get those two confused, but he killed him like 10 times. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was implied that he was the strongest Kage at the 5 Kage Summit. I believe that was implied. I might be mistaken on that. Right, I might be mistaken on that. But it would make sense because he was always relative to Hiruzen, and Hiruzen was stated to be the strongest Kage during his time as Hokage. So, Danzo versus those two. I think he'd have a shot. His hacks would definitely be very helpful. So I would lean towards Danzo. But I think it would be mid to high diff either way. Imagine Orochimaru, Kakazu, and Hidan being together when fighting the Immortal Trio. Jesus, yeah, that would be a fucking tough trio to deal with. It'd be a tough trio to deal with. They all have broken hacks. I think Danzo could pull it off. Agreed, yeah. He was always relative to Hiruzen. He was always below him, clearly, but he was always relative. They were both in contention to be the third Hokage, right? And Tobirama knew that, but he chose Hiruzen. So. Alright, folks. Any and all questions? Man, I've asked this before, but could you see Sage Naruto as Sage clone backups beat Danzo? He would have had to kill him. Talk no jutsu wouldn't work. Well, if he had Sage mode, he does admit inferiority to Sasuke, right? So we know he's weaker than Sasuke, and that was damn near a blinded Sasuke at that point. He said, I would need the Kyuubi to beat you. He said that explicitly. Now, Danzo is different, though, because Danzo's obviously quite a bit inferior to Sasuke, right? He's to a significant extent inferior to Sasuke. So Sage mode Naruto with clones so that he can keep replenishing his Sage chakra. It's possible that he beats Danzo. I would lean towards yes. I would still lean towards yes. I would say Naruto could possibly win. What powers or who you would be in the DC universe? Batman, easy. Or Superman. Batman or Superman. Those are like two of my favorite characters in the DC universe. Even though it's very niche, it's very cliche of me to say. Those are my favorites. I would have money, and I would be Batman. So, or I could be a god amongst men and be Superman, and go to the sun and be immortal, be Superman 1,000,000. How about Marvel? Actually, Wolverine. Wolverine has a certain kind of swag. You know, obviously he's built of adamantium, extreme healing abilities, and he has his own drip. You know, so Wolverine or maybe Iron Man. Yeah, Spider-Man's pretty cool too, though. Could Kisame absorb Amaterasu? That's a good question. It's a very good question. Could he absorb Amaterasu? The way I would interpret it, I would predict that it would be, but I believe the heat would bother Samahada to the point where maybe it wouldn't want to eat it or only eat a little bit of it. So I would say it could, but I think it would hurt Samahada, and it wouldn't want to absorb that. It would probably reject it because it's too hot. That's what I would say, even though that's my own headcanon, but most likely I think that's what would happen. So. Who do you think would win? Valley of the Madara or White Mask Obito? Madara. Valley of the Madara would fuck up Obito. Hashirama states during the war arc that Madara barely began to reach his past powers when he got, I believe, his Hashirama stage mode. So, yeah, Madara would beat White Mask Obito. Itachi regular fighting style hurt him, to be honest. Should be too hot. Yeah, Amaterasu would be an issue. The only individuals that could absorb it straight up is like an Otsutsuki, like Jigen. Right? Jigen absorbed it like it was taking candy from a baby. He just absorbed it like it was nothing. But he seems to negate the effects of Amaterasu. His durability is so high that it didn't phase him, but it would certainly phase Kisame. So. Jubito versus Alive Madara with EMS and Hashirama. Them together, I tend to believe Jubito would still win because all four Hokage, plus Naruto, plus Sasuke, and plus the Shinobi Alliance, were arguably only able to beat him because Naruto talk no jutsu'd him. Right? If he had no fluctuating power level because of his mental nerf that was constant, he would have fucked up everybody. Right? But because of the mental nerf, because of Naruto's talk no jutsu, he lost. So I would say Hashirama and Madara wouldn't be enough to beat him. As long as we presuppose that he doesn't have a mental app. If we're talking about stable Jubito, he fucks everybody up. So Pain or any Rinnegan user can absorb Amaterasu. Sound 4 plus healthy Kimimaro versus early Shippuden Naruto and Sakura. Early Shippuden? So the ones that did the bell test with Kakashi. Well, worst comes to worst. Naruto has a rampage, and the four-tail Naruto comes out and he bodies all of them like nothing. Definitely the Sound 4. Obviously, Kimimaro's limits were never indicated but they were never indicated by the manga. But if we assume that, he's no higher than Kakashi's level in part 1 or something like that, then yeah, Naruto and Sakura would win, especially if Naruto rampages if it gets to that point. So, Madara says he shouldn't use Lumbo when Obito had one running out with Black Zetsu. What do you think he meant by that? One running out with Black Zetsu. I have my own assumptions. Maybe because he'll be able to see it with the Rinnegan. That's all I can think of right now. Maybe it would be detrimental to his strategy to use a Limbo. I never even thought of that moment. Shouldn't use Limbo when Obito had one Rinnegan with Black Zetsu. What do you think he meant by that? I would assume something of that nature, because the Rinnegan can maybe see them. Limbo should have clapped all of them. Yeah, I mean, Madara was blatantly superior to everybody at that point. Pain versus base Obito. I feel that Pain wins that with the Almighty Push, as it would reflect calmly. What do you think? I think that Obito's reaction times is superior to Pain, so the Almighty Push wouldn't reach him in time before he's in the Kamui dimension. Now, it's an interesting thing to think about. How would they interact, right? If it did hit while Obito's using the Kamui, would the Almighty Push's, I believe, effect go into the Kamui dimension with Obito? It's a possibility, right? Because we saw other ninjutsu hit Obito in the Kamui dimension, such as Naruto when he used his Rasengan, right? So maybe that's a possibility. But I think Obito has superior reaction times and speed to Pain, even Orange Mask. So I believe that would be a very low possibility. And I think Obito would beat him. If anything, he could just Kamui him. Not even Minato was able to react very well to it. He was able to react to it, but even he had trouble and admitted that Yellow Mask Obito was a fight that would go down to the wire. So, and that's Minato, by the way. So, Almighty Push is said to deflect all jutsu. Yeah, but like I said, I think Obito's too fast for him. Have you seen the Itachi versus Obito fan-made fight? Oh, yes, I have. It was very fucking good. Very, very good. I like the back and forth that they had. I like it. Obito can Kamui Almighty Push and Universal Pull. My question is, because the Almighty Push has a large radius and circumference, it's not just a straight linear attack, it's more so of an area of effect to it, right? It has a radius to it. Would the Kamui suck in that radius and just completely suck in the attack? I don't know about that. That's something that you can't really answer. I would lean towards no. I don't think Kamui has that kind of effect. Well, it absorbs things like that with a radius that large, but we don't know, right? So we don't know. We have seen Kakashi even move the Eight Tails in its entirety with Kamui, so it might be possible. The Eight Tails is huge. So. Alright. Any and all questions, folks. Any and all questions. He could Izanagi, if anything, beat up Powerless Pain. Yeah, he would have that under his tool belt as well if he had to resort to that in the event that Pain was able to drastically injure him or kill him. Do you think Itachi can Tosuke Blade Obito if he's using Kamui? People believe it due to the statement, but Kamui only works on physical objects. Yeah, if it's stated in canonical literature that it only works on physical objects, then I would say no. Yeah. Let's see here. If I could find that. Tosuke Blade. Any information? Okay, this is about the Yadomir, not the Tosuke Blade. Weapons that have no physical form like the Tosuke Blade and the Yadomir are referred to as this. Okay, that doesn't help. Let's see. It is said to trap and seal away those it pierces in a Genjutsu world. The blade itself is imbued with sealing jutsu, and it is a variant of the Kusanagi blade. Okay. The Tosuke is spiritual. And the shield too. Yep, that's correct. Obito faster than the blade. Yeah, you could argue that. Could he fight the 6 paths of pain? Which is what I meant, not just one. That almost summon could summon Pain out. The 6 paths of pain, I do think he comes out victorious. I think he just destroys all of them. He's just faster. Pain gets bodied by any Obito with MS. I don't know about any, but yeah, definitely later on, Orange Mask Obito beats him. And certainly White Mask Obito destroys him. So. Make sure to hit the like button, folks, if you haven't already. Gets us up in the algorithm. Gets more people watching the streams post live, and as a result, more people come in during the live streams themselves. So more fruitful discussions as a result. Man, I could use what style on the fly. That's right. There's a statement that Obito acknowledges Itachi at like 14. He does. When they interact and plan the Uchiha massacre, he respects him, to say the least. Maybe that doesn't blatantly prove that he sees him as superior, but he respects him as a shinobi. So he didn't simply look down on him and consider him fodder or anything like that. So he has always respected Itachi, yeah, definitely. He certainly respected him more than he did Nagato. He called Nagato his subordinate and shit like that, like looks down upon him. So why didn't Obito ever use what style past Blood Mist Massacre? Maybe he just really didn't need it. He never saw a threat that was adequate enough. I mean, maybe Minato. That would be the counter to that. He didn't use it when he fought Minato. Alright, folks. Any and all questions? Any and all questions? Maybe using the moderate persona. Yeah, maybe that would keep up appearances. That's a pretty good rational deduction. Just keep up appearances, don't use what style, because people would start to wonder how the hell is he using that if he's moderate. Moderate is not a Senju. Jiraiya versus Kakashi and Shippuden. Well, I think Warlock Kakashi has a good chance of beating him. Anything below that loses to him. I think beginning Kakashi certainly loses to Sage Mode Jiraiya. I think Kakazu fight Kakashi more than likely loses to Jiraiya. I think Pain Arc Kakashi more than likely loses to Jiraiya. That's a little bit more arguable though, because he had some success against Tendo, right? Some level of success, I guess you could say. And then Warlock Kakashi probably beats Jiraiya. This Obito has like no scaling because he beats jobbers, exactly. Fighting all 6, he wouldn't give him time to react to Pain's almighty push because he'd have another path attack. Him comboing himself is all he has to do, though. The second he becomes aware of an attack, he's comboing himself away. So. Debate mode. Alright, folks, any and all questions of any topic? Of any topic indeed. Do you agree Pain solos at 5 Kage Summit like Kage has no chance? Does Pain solo at the 5 Kage Summit? I think that there's a good chance he does. I would scale him above Sasuke at this point, even still. I think a full power Pain would solo. I do believe so. Whether Raikage have a chance, his speed would be difficult. But once Pain uses a hacks, and I think he has at least relative enough speed to deal with him, I think he would just kill them all eventually. Strongest Batman between Arkham, Gotham Knights, and Injustice. Arkham Batman is more of like a realistic take, right? He fights his enemies. I mean, we see him take hits from Deathstroke and things like that. Gotham Knights, he beats Raja Ghul at the end. And then Injustice, I mean, he's fucking fighting Superman. I think Injustice probably scales the highest. Weird question, but if Obito were to lay down on the floor and use Kamui, would he fall into the earth endlessly? That's an interesting question. Now, there's only a window, there's only a time frame, right, of the Kamui. I don't think that would be the case. Because he Kamui's himself into the Kamui dimension. He can phase through objects with Kamui. I think if he were to do that, eventually he would teleport back into the original into the original dimension, and something bad would happen. Like he'd be crushed by the very surface area that he is within, or something like that. Let's see here. Who's your favorite character in Naruto verse? Probably Itachi. My personal favorite, at least. Gravity does affect him. The Conan fight. That's right, it does. If you put Light Yagami into the Hidden Leaf and saw Obito, could he figure out who he was? If he had time, yeah. I think with time he would figure it out. He would if that's his mission, is to figure out who Obito is, he would, for sure. I think even if Shikamaru was put on that mission, he'd figure it out eventually. It's not very hard to figure out. Yeah, so. Kakashi's my favorite. Kakashi's up there for me. Minato, Itachi, Kakashi, guys like that are up there for me. With Intel, yeah, he certainly figures it out. Certainly. Oh shit, Alexa's back with her bag. Alexa back with the bag again. Shout out to Alexa once again for showing off her bag. Gotta put in the screen. You guys know how it works. Give me a second, folks. Give me a second here, folks. And you didn't ask the question. Well, that's even more of a flex. You paid and didn't even ask a question. What a flex. She's like, I don't need to ask a question. I just got a bag. Period. Wow. Alright, so folks, give me a second while I put this on here. Give me a second. Where is it here? If you have a question that you can ask, I'll answer it. So, by the way, any question you desire. There we go. The goat needs to be credited for that. Alright, folks. Any questions you may have? Alexa, if you have a question, like I said. Any question at all. Shout out to Alexa once again, though. I really do got a bag. Oh, we could tell. We could tell you have a bag. We could tell. I gotta play this because of that. The soundboard's so slow. There it is. Shout out to Alexa for that one. Continuing on. Who do you think would win, 7th Gate Guy or EMS Sasuke? That's a tough one. Depends what version of EMS Sasuke. If it's end of war, EMS Sasuke, bodies guy. If it's beginning of war, EMS Sasuke, there's a good chance that it would be contentious. Now, 7th Gate's guy was moving relative speeds to War Kakashi when they were facing against Jinchurikis. EMS Sasuke and Itachi were somewhat relative, but Itachi is implied to be superior. It's tough. I would lean towards Sasuke, but it's a really tough one to assess. It's very ambiguous, that's why. It's very ambiguous. What if Minato had lived? Naruto would have a beautiful childhood. The Uchiha massacre would have never taken place. Obito would have been disposed of eventually. Sasuke would have had his brother, and he would have grown up a normal Uchiha, and the Uchiha, in the Uchiha clan, Uchiha segregation would end. Danzo would be in prison because Minato doesn't take no bullshit like Hiruzen, who's a weak, spineless ass Hokage. And simply put, the narrative would be much different. And there would be no fucking war arc because Minato wouldn't allow it. He'd say, I'm the guy, and fuck you, Danzo. I'm gonna do it my way. And I'm gonna go fucking kill the Akatsuki now. Simple as that. If Obito even has a chance to make the Akatsuki, that is. That's not if Minato slaughters him first. So, how many push-ups can you do? I could do quite a few. In one sitting, maybe 65, 70. In one set, I should say. What if the Akatsuki had known Itachi's truth? They would have killed him. They would have killed him. Only Obito knew. But if anyone else would have found out, they would have been like, what the fuck is this? Obito, you're a fucking liar. And, yeah, they would have had it out for Itachi. Naruto would be so much better thanks to Kurama not messing with his chakra. His childhood would be much better, yeah. But you could argue that Kurama's amp is so vast that he wouldn't be as strong as he was at his best without Kurama. If Minato didn't have to deal with the Nine Tails, he would have teleported and killed Obito too. Yep. Certainly. Yep. Exactly what happened. Could a healthy Itachi defeat both Pain and Obito if they were to get him? No, not together. No. He'd lose. He can beat Pain healthy. As far as Obito, it's very contentious. I got a good what if. What if Naruto decided to leave the village instead of staying due to Iruka? Do you think Obito would take advantage of him and groom him? I think if he would have left the village, there would have been two scenarios for Naruto that would have been, which both would be very bad. Right. So the first scenario is he escapes Konoha. The Akatsuki would take him and simply just rip the Nine Tails out of him with the little ritual that they do, like when they did with Gaara, and he would die. The other scenario is Konoha finds him. They know, due to the valuable resource that he is, having the Nine Tails, they would just simply imprison him somewhere where he can't escape. So either way, his life would be either over or he'd be dead. Oh shit, shout out to Steve Simon. Appreciate you, brother. See what Steve says here. This deserves a... Wait for it, wait for it. Appreciate you, brother. Alright, so let's see what you said here. What would you do? I've been following you for a bit. Appreciate that, brother. I do want your opinion on who should get the spin-off that Kishimoto is going to draw. Now, my choice was Minato. I think Minato is one of the most polarizing characters with very little backstory to add on to that. So the fact that he's that polarizing with just a little tad of information on the guy implies that with much information, he could most likely become the most favorite character in all of Narutoverse. There's argument that he already is, but even with a manga spin-off, certainly, that would be a spin-off or short manga that would do very, very well. So, I think Minato would be up there. That's who I selected. I think someone like Sakuma would be very telling as well. His story and, the story, what would be very, very telling and I think very appealing to the masses would be Sakuma, his story all the way up until his death, which was his suicide. That would be extremely, extremely emotionally appealing. And I think it'd be awesome. And we would learn more objectively about his power scaling as well. So I'd actually be very interested to see something like that as well. Very interested. Shout out to you again, though, for the donation, brother. Appreciate that. But I chose Minato. I hope it's Minato. I wouldn't mind Sakuma. Oh, shit. Shout out to Joshua for the $5. We're getting goats in here. Shout out to you, brother. Love the videos and keep it up. Appreciate that, brother. Do you need a powerful computer to do the live streams and YouTube videos? Yes, the stronger the processor, the better the streams and the faster the upload speed. Also, you need a very strong Wi-Fi connection, right? If you lack the megabytes per second, then your videos will be shit and your streams will be very laggy. I actually upgraded my Wi-Fi not too long ago because these streams were lagging, right? And that has ceased because I got a more powerful internet. So, yeah, you definitely need a powerful computer and you need a powerful internet, high-speed internet. So, Yeah, Sakumo is cool in my opinion. Yep, I agree. Sakumo, Minato, Fugaku. I wouldn't mind Fugaku's history. Maybe someone like Tobirama. I know people have their opinions on the guy, but history of his would be very cool as well, and how he came to be. Right, his I guess from his conception up until his adulthood would be very interesting as well. You know, we could see, hey, why is he so hell bent on destroying the Uchiha? Obviously, he went to war with the Uchiha, but you know, what specs do you need for RAM? I believe mine should be on here. I don't remember off the top of my head, but the higher the better. As far as a processor, i7 or above would be sufficient. The higher the better. That means more pricey as well, but i7 plus. The higher the RAM, the better as well. That means better performance, and of course memory as well. So Apple computers, I would say, aren't the best for this kind of work. Apple computers are beneficial for other things, in my opinion. What would be cool is to see how it came up with creating all those forbidden jutsu. Exactly, that's another thing I forgot about that as well. Oh, the fight with Keen and Gin would answer so many questions. Would finally be able to power scale the guy. Is he really fodder, or did he fight some fucking elite ass shinobi and just lose? You know, you gotta think about it that way. But we would get answers with that. That's why, if worst comes to worst, we get into a Tsutsuki manga, that would answer the question of Naruto being universal, right? About this notion that the verse is universal would be finally answered if Kishimoto wrote about the Otsutsuki and showed their true ability and gave more statements on their power. That would answer the question. There would be no more debate. It would either be, sorry, they're not universal, or Kishimoto said they are universal, and that's the end of that. All right, but that's not going to be entertaining narratively, though, so I hope that's not the case. Even though power scaling wise, it would be very enlightening. That's probably not going to happen, though, because, simply put, no one wants to fucking see a Kaguya short manga. Guarantee you that, so that's not going to happen anyway. Games show that they're at least planetary level. Yeah. My scaling of the most powerful individuals like Baramo, Naruto, and Ishiki is somewhere in between large star level to highballing, like wanking them like galaxy level. Right? If you presuppose that Kaguya was going to destroy a solar system when absorbing it with her expanding true seeking orb, then Ishiki's stronger than that, and Baramo is way stronger than that. Simply put, you get him up to that level. That's a high ball. Low ball is large star level, right? Because the dimension that Kaguya was in and about to absorb showed a star, so you can calculate that the size of the, well, not calculate exactly, but you can induce that the size of the dimensions around large star level, and Ishiki's above that, Naruto's above that, and he's somewhere in the range of solar system, large star level to solar system. All right, so it depends on your presupposition, but saying that they're below planet level is absurd. They're certainly not. Certainly not. They're way above that. And I actually debated these guys recently on Kaguya scaling. And it's funny because they don't have any empirical evidence. It's simply just their own bias and them repeating themselves via ad nauseum, which is a logical fallacy, which doesn't work in debating. Right? A lot of people just repeat themselves and give their own emotional arguments, which doesn't work. You'll fail to defeat someone with empirical evidence if all you have is your own bias, speculation, emotional appeal. It doesn't work. So, also, I think the lore about the other villages could be very interesting, specifically the Mist Village. That would be interesting. You know, the Mist Village, with it once being called the Blood Mist Village, is very interesting, and there's obviously a lot of lore around that. Yeah, for sure. What if Obito took his Sharingan back from Kakashi after seeing Rin die? I think his power would be double, if not more, than what it was during Shippuden. He would by far and away be the strongest, probably shinobi on Earth up until the war arc. Right? Up until we get like KCM Naruto and we get Edo Madara and stuff like that. He'd probably be the strongest shinobi on Earth. Truly. With both, no one could stand up to him, at least until Naruto gets his KCM. Kakashi would be called Cyclops. Yep, he'd have one eye. What if water did not exist? It's a very deep question, because essentially everything is made of water. Or have, I guess, if water didn't exist, to be more technical, we wouldn't exist. The Earth would simply be just pure terrain, and a lot of things wouldn't exist. Many organisms would never exist in the first place because they need water. It's a requirement. So, unless you presuppose and theorize that we would still exist, but we'd be simply organisms that don't require water. But we'd never know that, right? We can only theorize and hypothesize. But if we presuppose that the world works the way it still does, and that physics works the way it still works, and that humans need the same ingredients to survive, then none of us would exist. So, what if Itachi was born in Boruto? We probably wouldn't like him as much. Simply put, you'd probably think he's fucking annoying, just like most people in Boruto. What if Obito sent pain to the land of lightning? Would he beat Being or Kage together with the whole village? I think he'd have some trouble, but I don't think they'd be able to stop him. I think he probably could beat them. I think he's just above all the Kage, period. When he comes into the Five Kage Summit, saves Sasuke from Onuki's particle style, and just sits there and says, I'm going to start a war, and there's nothing any of you could do about it. You're all fucked. And they all just sit there knowing that he's superior to them. It's simple as that. So, see here. Nobody mentioned Orochimaru Kakasu. What if Jiraiya beat Pain in the Hidden Rain? So Jiraiya would come back a hero, and Naruto wouldn't be as adamant on learning Sage Mode. He probably would have learned it later, and his development would have been, I guess, delayed, because he doesn't have that big why pushing him and fueling him, right? Because when he found out Jiraiya's death, he was down for a little bit until Ruka gave him that speech, and he became even more so ambitious than he already was, and in a matter of days, he learned Sage Mode. So that ambition and that motivation would never be there, right? So Obito would have to clean up his mess. Well, he kind of did anyway, but even more so if Pain is defeated by Jiraiya. So, yeah. All right, folks, any and all questions? Are you closer with your mom or dad? Probably my dad these days. Best ways to show appreciation for your mom. Simply put, don't be a loser or a bitch. Be a great man. That's the best way to show appreciation to any parent or any mentor, is to know that the investment that they have done with you pays off. Right? Because parents raise you. They instill and invest their values into you. So simply put, you being a fucking loser is the worst way to show appreciation. The best way is to become a great man. Simple as that. I just thought of this. Sasuke was lucky to be fully blind when Naruto came to save Sakura from him, because if he still had his MS on, Itachi would have been enforced. Kodo. That's a good observation. That's a good observation. Also, it's an interesting, the whole summoning world, or shouldn't it get more attention? That's not something that I've always been very keen on. It's not something I've ever been very keen on or interested in. The summonings are cool, but it wouldn't be my first choice of something to be prioritized by Kishimoto. But it's interesting nonetheless. Just not on the top of my list, though. Would you let someone interview you? Sure. If someone reaches out and wants to podcast or speak, certainly. Well, be someone that I respect, of course, but yeah, I would. The right person, yes. Hashirama Sage Mode, do you think it's from the woods where the slug summoning is, or no? That doesn't seem to be implied, but it's interesting to think about where his Sage Mode originates from. Maybe you could simply argue that because he's a reincarnation of Ashura, that was his unique trait that came with it, something like that. It's hard to tell. But it's definitely not from the slugs, I'd say. I don't think that's where it originated from. It's something simply different. So, Alright, folks. Any and all questions need. We need Kishimoto to show how he got it. Exactly. Yeah, that would be very telling. So we know where it comes from. There's so many answers that need to be illuminated to us. So many questions that need to be answered. Naruto versus Sasuke yelling each other's names. Who would win? Sasuke's pretty good at yelling. But Naruto yells more often. So I would say Naruto. Naruto's more energized and is more up to the task of yelling. Sasuke's more chill. He yells less often. Prime Love Hashirama post-Madara fight versus Naruto and Sasuke Majestic Attire Susanoo War Arc. Let's see. Prime Alive Hashirama post-Madara fight versus Naruto and Sasuke Majestic Attire Susanoo War Arc. Well, if it's six past Naruto and Sasuke, they absolutely obliterate him. If it's early Naruto and Sasuke, they might lose to him, possibly. Unless you presuppose that this attire that is put onto the Nine Tails gives some sort of multiplier, which you can kind of deduce based off Naruto and Sasuke doing that to defeat Fuse Momo, right? One-shotting Fuse Momo with the Majestic Attire, which kind of implies that the power level has some sort of increase. Maybe it's exponential, maybe it's an addition of both powers or something else. So I would say there's a good chance Naruto and Sasuke would do well. And the stronger they get, obviously, the more one-sided that'll become. So towards the end of the war, they absolutely obliterate Hashirama. So who is Medali's mom? Shit. Some people theorize that it was Tenten, that Rock Lee had, a bad night one night and just had a moment with Tenten and just kept it under wraps. Probably had a bad day and said, fuck it. So instead of Boruto, we should have gotten Aftermath of the War. I agree. I can't see peace being stable because the alliance was formed due to necessity after the threat was over, conflicts would break out. Yeah. So Madara's ideology, right? That's why some people say his ideology was the correct one. Because he recognized and acknowledged the inevitable continuation of the cycle of war and peace, right? He acknowledged the cycle of war and peace. And still continues to this day in Boruto. Now we have Otsutskis and fucking cyborgs that Naruto and Sasuke have no chance of winning now that they're nerfed. So Madara was right. To some extent. Right? To some extent he was right. So what if Neji didn't die at the war? Should he have banged Tenten? Tenten probably would have asked him. She probably already has throughout their time. There's a good chance she probably would have tried to thirst over him. And eventually, Neji started to soften up later on. Maybe he would go for it. Just like Sasuke did with Sakura, which Sakura didn't deserve because Sakura is just... And Sasuke, they both didn't deserve it. But still. Kakashi versus Sasori. That's tough. That's very tough. I think early Shippuden Kakashi gets fucked up. I think the one that fought Kakazu probably loses too. Pain Arc Kakashi might have a chance. Maybe. I lean towards no. And then War Arc Kakashi, I think, has a very good chance. A very good chance of beating Sasori. He gets stronger as time goes on. Yeah. One thing that really interested me was reanimated Kono versus Sakura, and Hinata. That would have been interesting. But I guess Kishimoto didn't care enough to do it. Who was that Kakashi lookalike kid in Boruto? I forgot that guy's fucking name. I haven't seen the anime in so long. I forgot the kid's name, but he has some weird earth jutsu or some shit from what I saw, from what I remember. Yes, Neji and Tenten would have been great to see. Yeah, definitely. Whatever happened to the guy who was announcing everyone's name in the Chunin exams? Is he alive? I don't really remember that fact. I'm not sure, actually, to be honest. If you had to choose between keeping Itachi or Neji to stay alive, who would you want and why? Easily Itachi. Easily Itachi. Because I would like to see what he would do next. What would he do next? That's the question. After the war arc or stuff like that. And how would they scale him in Boruto? How would they scale him? I think Hashirama's Sage Mode is connected to his wood release. That's a good theory. That's a good theory. But once again, folks, shout out to everyone for the donations in this stream and all past streams. Greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated. So what is your thought on each arc of Shippuden, and what would you change to improve it in your opinion? So let's look at the arcs real quick. I forgot all the names of the arcs, to be honest. Let's see. Shippuden arcs. Let's see here. Okay, I don't need this long ass thing. Give me a second, folks, while I find it. Canon, yeah, stick to canon. So the Kazekage, I'll go through the big ones. So from Kazekage rescue mission to Itachi pursuit arc, that arc was pretty good. I'll give it like a solid 7 to an 8. I would have liked there to be more respect for Sasori and him having a better performance. Maybe that's what I would change. The Pain arc, that's my favorite arc of all time, even to this day. That's a solid. The only reason I don't give it a 10 is because of the ending, the bullshit talk no jutsu crap, that disappointing. So I give it a 9.5 out of 10, and I would change that. I would change the ending. The 5 Kage Summits arc, I would give it. It was pretty heat. The fights were great. I'd give it a 9. As far as what I would change, I don't know. I'm not really sure. Maybe I would change Naruto and Sasuke's interaction at the end of the summit. Maybe have them scrap a little to give us more information on how they scale to each other. And then the war arc, I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. I would definitely change the ending because Kaguya was fucking ass as far as, you know, the climactic event. That wasn't climactic to me. That was very anticlimactic, actually. So the best arc to me is the Pain arc overall. That's from my own lens, of course. Alright. Imagine if we get to see Itachi in the exams when he's a kid in manga or anime. That would be goated. That would be sick. The only reason I don't pick Itachi because there's so much on him already. We know that he's a goat and that he's all his story and stuff like that. I kind of want them to shine light on someone else that hasn't had the light shined on them that often, you know? Someone that we fuck with. What if Orochimaru had the Rinnegan? He would take over the world and become all powerful. Probably figure out how to become the Sage of Six Paths himself. So, he could only use one, to be honest, like Obito, and that's if he could pull it off due to him having cash shells, but that's just me. Okay. If Kage didn't appear, would Naruto Sasuke defeat Three-Eyed Madara? I would love to see his potential. The fact that Sasuke stated that even after seeing the Three-Eyed Madara, he said once Kage appeared that Kage is a much greater threat and has much greater chakra, implies that Three-Eyed Madara is below Kage. So I do think they would have defeated him. I do think so. Remember when Obito took off his mask in front of Kisame? That was dope. That was a cold moment. Yeah, that was a cold moment. All right, folks. About 15 to 20 more minutes, unless someone donates, and then I shall stay longer. Any and all questions are welcome. Any and all questions. Kaguya had 2 forms too. Yep, that's correct. And I was actually debating these individuals, some random individuals online about Kaguya versus Ishiki. Right? They kept using this bullshit argument that she beat Ishiki in a fight. No, she caught him off guard and wounded him. Off guard is the key word, and it's stated that Ishiki's stronger than Kaguya. Right? Now, these guys try to counter me by saying, well, that doesn't necessarily mean an amped Kaguya. Yes, it does, because Sasuke saw an amped Kaguya and stated that Ishiki and that fused moment were a greater threat than Kaguya. So, Kaguya scales below them. It's just funny how people like to play semantics. They like to play semantics when you can rationally deduce the most possible interpretation and the most possible semantical relationship that are being established with the statements. People love to play that game. To me, it's kind of disingenuous. So, I'll be off, Jay. Looking forward to vids. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate that. They're all rats. Yeah. Actually, funny story. I was in a forum on some social media, and one of the admins, right, I was talking, it was about 20,000 people in the group, and I was in a debate with one of the admins. I did well. Obviously, I beat the guy in the debate. So he had me added to their special group called Legend Debaters, and then this other guy wanted to debate me on Kaguya scaling, And I simply asked him for proof, and then he banned me from the group. I'm like, these guys are ass. They're definitely not legendary debaters. So there's definitely a lot of bias in the community, a lot of bias and disingenuity taking place. It's kind of disappointing. It's very disappointing. These guys call themselves legendary debaters. They run a group of over 20,000 people, yet they pick and choose who can stay on and who can't. That seems like bullshit to me. So stay objective. That's the goal in debating. Stay objective, extrapolate information, and come to the best rational deduction. Don't bring your emotions into it, your bias, your speculation. It doesn't work. And you won't beat a good debater that way. You'll get folded. Unless you have the power to kick people out, like those dumbasses did, which they did to me because I was folding them in debate. So it's kind of sad. Called egos. Yep, egos are too big. And what's funny is that it's counterproductive to have a big ego, because it limits your potential. You're not willing to be open-minded and mold your mind. If you don't have a malleable mind, you will never reach your ceiling. Not just in debating, but in anything in life. So to me, it's funny that these guys are hell-bent on sticking to their own subjective lenses. It really is comical to me. And it's only limiting their own potential. So to each their own. My mind has changed on many things over the last couple of years when it comes to debating and everything. So even the best in the business have Seth, Swag. Those guys change their minds all the time about stuff. Doesn't mean that they're bad debaters. It just means that they're aware of their own limitations. What if Cell killed Gohan? Shit, then Cell probably would have taken over. Because Goku was gone at that point. No one else was even remotely close to Cell's level. And I would simply say that Cell would have won. So Asuma versus Abusa. I think I gave my take on this quite a while ago. My scaling was that Asuma was able to at least compete with Hidan, right? And even though Part 1 Kakashi was stronger than Asuma, and Part 1 Kakashi was relative to Zabuza, simply put, we can easily presuppose that Asuma and Kakashi got stronger from Part 1 to Shippuden, and Zabuza never got the chance to get stronger because he died. So simply put, Asuma now and Shippuden would beat this version of Zabuza. So that was my scaling. What if Asuma had lived? Would that have changed things? I wouldn't say very much. Shikamaru had his awakening moment when, he had a very tough moment when he died. Maybe some of his motivation wouldn't be there without him. With him there. So, how far can Mr. Satan make it in the Chunin exams? Well, he was able to bite Kid Buu, and if I'm ratting, he would absolutely obliterate everyone in the Chunin exams because he was able to bite Buu, and Buu is a damn near universal threat, and the fact that Mr. Satan can even tank one attack from Buu insinuates his level. So with me being a rat, he would absolutely foderize the entire Chunin exams. That's if I'm using a rat argument. Now, if I'm being objective, what is he, like peak human? Or maybe above that? If he's at least 200 to 300 as far as power level, then he's planet level, because I think that was Roshi's power level was around 139 in Dragon Ball. So if Mr. Satan's is anywhere around that, then he would foderize the Chunin exams, which I don't think he's around that level, so he'd probably lose to almost anyone. Minato versus Shikamaru, dad, in chess. Oh shit, that would be a hell of a fucking battle. That's a hell of a fucking battle. It's tough to tell who would win that one. Minato, I believe, has the highest scores ever in Academy history, so maybe Minato. Hello, what's going on, Positive Holmes? Thanks for coming in, brother. Any and all questions, folks. Donations take priority. Become a member to watch exclusive members-only videos, and your questions are prioritized also that way. Shout out to all the members. Shout out to all the donations. What's your opinion on Ronaldo versus Messi playing chess? I haven't seen the game, but I'm sure it was a good one. I'm sure those guys are very intelligent. So, I think that's pretty cool, though. Two GOATs going at it. Sasori was strong as hell, and love how he made the Puppet Master Jutsu more powerful. The Puppet Master Jutsu is one of my favorites. I'd use the chakra strings to apply Genjutsu. That's a smart thing to do, yeah. If you're able to use Genjutsu, then maybe the strings would aid you in doing so. If Naruto learned flying Raijin as well, because he clearly has plenty of chakra to do so. Thoughts? If he learned it, shit. Well, there would be a lot of battles that would have been much easier for him. A lot of battles that he was in. Sasuke, the final battle. Well, it depends when he learns it. So if he learns it right away, he'd probably beat Sasuke. Kakashi would be even more. He would probably even further blitz him with flying Raijin. All right, a lot of battles would be much easier for him. But unfortunately, it's hard to tell how exactly it would be with him having it because his style isn't that type. He's not that type. I call Naruto's style very Maverick-like, very chaotic, but it works. Right? He's the most unpredictable ninja in the world for a reason. Right? So it's hard to tell, but I think he'd have a much easier time in a lot of fights with flying Raijin. So, what if Jiraiya and Tsunade had a kid? It'd probably be a pretty strong kid. Would have Jiraiya's genetics and Tsunade's, so would have healing abilities and probably will learn Sage Mode. So Sage Mode on top of healing abilities. Maybe he'll get another Hashirama type like character. I don't know. Wing Chun applied with explosion style would have been cool to see. If you could pick a martial art, what would it be? If I could pick a martial art to know of in the real world, I think one of the best martial arts to know in the real world would probably be kickboxing or Muay Thai. You can use all limbs. You know to utilize all your limbs in a violent manner to protect yourself. Ground game martial arts they're useful, but they're only useful if you can get the guy to the ground. Because every fight starts standing up. No one starts on the floor unless theoretically you're on the floor and someone starts fucking punching you or something. All the fights start standing up. So knowing how to use your hands, your legs, your elbows, things like that would be very beneficial. Imagine if Hiruzen used flying Raijin to escape the barrier the Sound 4 did. Shit. Yeah. That's kind of an argument you can use to go against the notion that he knows how to use every jutsu, right? Orochimaru stated that he has knowledge of every jutsu. That doesn't necessarily mean he could use every jutsu. Because if he could, he'd be able to use the fucking, Shikamaru's Shadow Possession. He'd be able to use Shino's fucking bugs. He'd be able to use fucking everything. But clearly he doesn't utilize that, so we can only assume he knows of them. But he can't use them. Because that would have been a perfect ability to use fighting Orochimaru. Just flying Raijin your ass out of there. Yeah. So the assumption or the presupposition can be broken down with those observations. So certainly. Alright. Naruto with flying Raijin. He could use his shadow clones to attack. Died his mastery of the jutsu. Due to his mastery of the jutsu, I'm sure you meant. That would be fucking broken. Is Conor McGregor overrated? Now, yes. The Conor tards are certainly off as far as his legacy. Now, business-wise, he's the single greatest MMA combat sports athlete we have ever seen. There's no one even close to him. He buries everybody. Israel Adesanya, Jorge Masvidal. None of the guys come close to his marketability. He shits on everyone in that sense. As far as his legacy as a fighter, to me, he doesn't even crack top 10 now. Truly. He's never defended his titles. He hasn't won a fight in 7 fucking years. How could he be a top 10 fighter? Yes, he's the first double champ, I believe, of all time in the UFC. That's quite the accomplishment. But you never defended your fucking belts. Never. Never. So how the hell could you be top 10, top 5, or the GOAT? Hell no, he's not. Hell to the fucking no. Hell no. I do think he's overrated now. To me, he's a top 25 fighter of all time. Top 20, at best. Your favorite summoning? Probably Gamabunta. I fuck with Gamabunta, yes. Swag. He has cool abilities. Thoughts on John Jones? John Jones is the single greatest mixed martial artist I have ever seen in my life. Put this into perspective. Throughout his 20s, when he was the youngest champion in UFC history, which still stands to this day, he was fucking folding champions while getting blacked out drunk, while doing coke, while clubbing, while probably fucking bitches. He was folding champions. Glover Teixeira, Alexander Gustafsson, Rampage Jackson, Lyoto Machida, he was fucking all these guys up. And he even admitted that every time he would fight, a week before he'd get blackout drunk just in case he lost. He'd have an excuse for why he lost. And he still folded everybody. He still folded all these guys for a fucking decade. That's how fucking good Jon Jones is. There are many fighters, also, for guys that don't know this, that say that he fucked up heavyweights in sparring. During practice, he would fuck up world-class champions, heavyweights. He was manhandling fucking heavyweights. And he's a fucking light heavyweight. He was fucking up, out-wrestling heavyweights that are professional world-class fighters. That's how good Jon Jones is. Now, people say he's a cheater. Anderson Silva did PEDs. Does anyone take him off the top of the list of the middleweight division? No. Jon Jones partied throughout his 20s and still dominated for a fucking decade. He is the fucking greatest of all time. It's not even close. It's not Khabib. It's not fucking Conor. It's not fucking GSP. It's Jon Jones. It's Jon Jones. As much as you hate him, do I think he's a good guy outside the octagon? No. He fucking hit his wife and his fiance and she left him. His own kid was scared of him and went down to the hotel lobby and told him to call the cops. Obviously, he's not the best guy outside. I'm not saying that. But as far as fighting, as far as his skills in the octagon, he's the best I've ever seen and the best that we've ever seen. Period. Period. It's not even a fucking discussion. It's not. It's fucking preposterous that people say he's not. Who's better than him? GSP? He lost to Johnny Hendricks. Anderson Silva? He lost his last 6 or 7 fights. Who else? Fucking Fedor? He never fought in the UFC. Stipe? He only has 3. Stipe's up there, but he only has 3 defenses. And he got knocked out by Francis Ngannou. And he's lost other fights before. There's no one on his level, man. There's no one on his level. It's that simple. Jon Jones is the single greatest fighter of all time. And he's not the best outside the octagon. Hell no. Obviously, I'd pick someone different if we're talking about all-around champion in and outside. I'd probably be like GSP or someone like that. But inside, he's the single greatest fighter of all fucking time. He's the Mayweather of our sport. Simple as that. So, really that simple. But Ngannou, though, I think Ngannou is going to be a very dangerous test for Jon Jones. Very dangerous. Very dangerous. And I'm praying that happens. I hope Ngannou doesn't leave the UFC and we never get to see it. I'm praying that he stays, at least for this fight, and we get to see it. That's a super fight. So, Jon Jones is the best, man. Point blank. Shadow Possession would require a very powerful yin and yang release. Does Orochimaru have it? Does he have it? Theoretically, if he could synthesize yin and yang, maybe. But it seems that it originates from 6 past powers. So I don't know. Does he have it? I don't think so. If that's what you're asking, I don't think so. But yeah, besides anime, as you could tell, I'm a very big UFC fan as well. So I could probably answer anything about UFC as well. Anything. I'm probably just as balls deep in that as I am in the anime, to be honest. So, truthfully. I'm not gonna lie though, after he hit his wife or his fiance, it's hard to stay a fan of Jon Jones. I'm not gonna lie, man. That's fucked up. That's fucked up what he did. I'm not gonna lie about that. You know? How do you think Sasuke would talk no Jutsu Naruto if the roles were reversed? Maybe he would just try to piss him off and say that he's a fucking loser and stuff like that. That would always bother Naruto, at least in part 1. That would be the best bet. He would say you're fucking pathetic and that you'll never be better than me. I'm your superior, shit like that. Maybe that in some other hypothetical universe that would work. Maybe. Favorite fighting style? If you mean a fighter, best fighting style that I think is very entertaining, probably some sort of knockout artist. Knuckle Chandler has a very good, very entertaining style. It's a hit or miss type of style though. You either knock someone the fuck out or you get your ass whooped, which happens to Chandler all the time. Now, if you mean fighting style in general, I like a well-rounded fighter. I like a well-rounded guy, like a Jon Jones or like a GSP or someone like a Demetrius Johnson. Guys like that. Those styles I think are the best styles. And my favorite martial art, probably kickboxing or Muay Thai. Taekwondo's up there too. Now, to be objective though, I think the most important martial art that you need to master to be successful in mixed martial arts is wrestling. Wrestling is the foundation of mixed martial arts. The foundation. Look at Khabib. That motherfucker barely even got hit his whole career. Why? Because he would manhandle everybody. No one stood a fucking chance against him. Nobody. You know? So wrestling is probably the single most important thing that you need to know. So that's what I would say. Need to know how to grapple, strike, you name it. Yeah. Every martial art is important. But I would say wrestling is more important than striking. I mean, we've seen some strikers become champions. Israel Adesanya, for example. But his takedown defense is very good, though. That's what people don't understand. So, all right, folks, about 5 more minutes, unless someone donates, and I'll stay longer. About 5 more minutes. I know I said 15 minutes, like 20 minutes ago, but for real, about 5 more minutes now. Unless someone donates, and I shall stay longer. Wrestling is strong, to be honest, out of all grappling styles. Which one do you rank for top 5? Example, jiu-jitsu. As far as importance, I'd say number 1, wrestling. Number 2 probably would be jiu-jitsu. Well, there's certain variations of wrestling. There's Greco-Roman. There's the Dagestanian style, like Khabib style. Freestyle wrestlers, like a Chandler. So wrestling in general, jiu-jitsu. I believe those are the 2 main grappling disciplines. As far as what other ones I could think of, none really come to the top of my head. Wrestling martial art is the best fighting style against Muay Thai and kickboxing. It's dangerous to use in the UFC. Yeah, the Dagestanians are absolute fucking monsters. They're absolute fucking beasts, and they're very dangerous. Khabib. Look at Islam. Islam's a champ now. Khabib told everybody, watch, when I leave, Islam's going to be the champ. He was right. Islam fucking fodderized Charles Oliveira. He made him his bitch. Knocked him down and choked him out. How much more humiliating could it get? You know, so those Dagestanians are something else. Hamzat Shimaev is a fucking monster. Dagestanian. I believe he's Dagestanian, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah. The UFC is a thriving sport. Many stars, many events to look forward to. And conversely, boxing, I would honestly say it's not doing very well. I don't. I think boxing at one point was dying. And honestly, as much as I hate to say it, Jake Paul reinvigorated boxing. I'm going to be honest. He reinvigorated energy into the sport. Honestly, as much as I hate to fucking say that. It was a dying sport before that. I'm not going to lie. Ever since Mayweather has retired, boxing has been on the back 9. You know. Favorite game, do you play any? My favorite game of all time? My favorite game of all time growing up and still to this day was Star Wars Battlefront 2 on PS2. It was extremely, extremely versatile. You could fly in space, you know, with the X-Wings and things like that. Fight on the aircraft carriers that float in space. You could fight on land. You could fight with vehicles. Currently, my favorite game, I haven't really played games much because I've been so busy, but the best game of recent memory was probably God of War. The new God of War is very good narratively, or The Last of Us 2 is very good. Yeah, I've studied many types of fighting styles that they all have weaknesses that other martial arts can counter. The more you know, the better you'd be. Exactly. And the thing with wrestling is, if you're able to manhandle someone and they don't have the adequate takedown defense or wrestling defense, they're fucked. You know, could be put down full display many times. Many, many times. So, simply put, the more, the better. Yeah, that is true. Because then you got someone like a John Jones who fucking dominates in all departments. Striking, wrestling, everything. The clinch against the cage, in the center of the octagon, jiu-jitsu, everything. He's a fucking monster. So, now the only eraser is power. Right? Power can negate a lot of things. Look at Ngannou. The guy coming in was not very skilled at all. His fucking power is a game changer. Knocked Curtis Blades out. He knocked Curtis Blades' ass out cold, I think, twice. He knocked, Rosenstruck the fuck out. He knocked Stipe the fuck out. Knocking all these guys the fuck out with less skill. Why? Because he hits so fucking hard. But you can't teach power. You either got it or you don't. So that's the thing about power. Power is the equalizer. It's a touch of death. So power can definitely beat skill. Yep. Now John Jones is going to be interesting because John has the length. So he could negate the distance advantage that Nagano usually has on people. So that's going to be interesting. He's by far the better wrestler. Probably the best wrestler that, besides arguably Curtis Blades, Nagano has ever faced. So, yeah, power. Look at Deontay Wilder. The motherfucker started boxing in his late 20s and he became a world champ because of his fucking power. Now, where did he have trouble with? Tyson Fury. Why? Because Tyson has the reach advantage. Wilder's 6'7", has arms as long as a fucking measuring tape, and obviously knocks everybody the fuck up because of it. But Fury was bigger and longer than him, and way more skilled, so the power wasn't enough. Even though it almost won him a couple fights. He dropped Fury a couple times, but it wasn't enough. Favorite movie ever? I'm kind of a nerd, so probably Endgame, obviously. Honestly, Avengers Endgame, probably. But non comic book related, maybe Warrior, which was actually ironically enough an MMA movie with Tom Hardy. The UFC does limit what moves I can use because the strikes are deadly. Right, like kneeing a down opponent, yeah, or nut shots or shit like that. Yeah, there are strikes that you can't do, or a soccer kick to the fucking head when someone's on the ground. That's not allowed in the UFC. It's actually allowed in other organizations, though, like One Championship, and there's a couple others out there that you can kick someone in the fucking head. Warrior was really good. Yep, it was really, really good. I agree. Definitely agree. All right, folks, I believe that is all. Unless someone donates, that will be all. Now, announcements. I'm going to be grinding out original content. Also, I'm looking for a co-host, so hopefully by next stream I have a co-host. If all goes well, I have a co-host by then. If not, for sure by the one after that, or the one after that, I'll have a co-host, and we'll do live debates for you guys, and that will get much more exciting because I'll have someone to debate and stuff like that. So yeah, folks, I appreciate all the donations here. Appreciate all you guys for coming in and for all the questions, and make sure to ask your questions pre-live stream, like I always say, so they're answered in depth. But anyways, hit the like button if you haven't already. Sub if you're new. If it's your first time watching my content, check out other streams, other videos. And I'll catch you in the next video, folks. This is Jelly Gray signing out. Peace out, y'all.